Hey guys, this is Holland with the Wolverine.com, and we're back with another episode of Recruit of the Week. Before we dive into this week's prospect, I do want to invite you guys to subscribe to the Wolverine.com today for just $29.99 until August 31st of this year. That gets you premium insider recruiting information, team information, basketball recruiting, NIL, transfer portal, and so much more. And you get to be part of a great message board community over on the Fort for just $29.99 until August 31st of 2023. That gets you through the late signing period, summer official visit season, and of course, the Jim Harbaugh saga, all for just $29.99 until August 31st of this year. All right, guys, let's talk about this week's Recruit of the Week, and we're going to highlight Stafford, Virginia Mountain View linebacker Kris Jones, ranked as the number 13 linebacker and number 112 overall prospect nationally, the number 1 overall recruit in the great state of Virginia. So Kris Jones just released his top 12. Michigan was included in that lengthy list. And so a lot of times when you see a top 10 or a top 12, or some recruits even do a top 15, right? You just kind of brush it off and maybe don't think too much of it. But in this case, I do think Michigan is a legitimate player. I would say Michigan is in the top half of that top 12, so definitely in the top half dozen. The Wolverines got him on campus for an unofficial visit in the fall. Michigan looking to get him back on campus for another UV this offseason. It would not be surprising at all if Michigan earns one of his 5 official visits. And Kris Jones is a high academic kid. He values what Michigan offers on and off the field. George Hilo, Michigan's linebackers coach, has done a great job of building a relationship with Jones. Michigan defensive coordinator Jesse Minter has also been involved here. Jones is one of the biggest priorities on a very, very talented 2024 linebacker board. So I think Hilo right now has identified Jones as a guy that can fit multiple roles in the scheme and is a prospect they consider a very high-level recruit. Now, I had a chance to see Jones live, and we'll talk a little bit about his evaluation, or my in-person evaluation of him. But before we do, let's talk a little bit more about his recruitment. So like I said, Michigan, probably in that top half dozen. He is very open to playing in Big Ten country. In fact, a lot of the schools that he's high on are, kind of Big Ten, Midwest schools. I can't say Notre Dame is a Big Ten school, obviously, but kind of the other programs that I think are high up there are Ohio State, Penn State, and Notre Dame. Notre Dame's had him on campus. Ohio State's had him on campus. Penn State is considered the leader on the on-3 prediction machine, but the percentages are pretty even so far. Penn State does a great job of recruiting the state of Virginia, and they've made Jones a priority. I know Ohio State really opened his eyes. Notre Dame, like Michigan, has sold him on high-level football and a high-level education. And obviously both Michigan and Notre Dame offering better academics than Ohio and Penn State, which could be a plus factor for both programs. I think some of the in-state schools, or Virginia Tech and Virginia, both made the top 12. Both of those in-state schools have caught his attention as well. Oklahoma is an out-of-region school that has his eyes. There are some SEC schools that made the cut as well: Florida, Georgia, LSU. But I do think that Florida is probably making him the biggest priority of the SEC programs. He's visited there in the past as well. Florida also offers good academics, so that's one to watch as well. But it wouldn't be surprising to see Jones end up in the Big Ten. I think this is a very fair, competitive race that Michigan can win. Like I said, just a winnable recruitment. I think the Wolverines have done a great job so far. Now it's just about getting him back on campus, continuing to build those relationships, continuing to sell him on the defensive scheme, the NFL production and development, and the academic piece as well. But Michigan, a true contender despite a lengthy top 12. And let's talk about Jones as a player. So Michigan hasn't necessarily didn't necessarily land a big-time linebacker recruit. Last cycle, you had Samaj Bridgman, who was a fringe top 300 prospect. You had Hayden Moore, who was a little bit of a late riser. I think Michigan really would like to get a high-level linebacker in this class. Obviously, the Wolverines did boost the position group by landing Ernest Hausman out of the transfer portal. But again, they'd like to land a high-level high school prospect this cycle. And Jones is that as a top 150 recruit. I saw him, I want to say, early fall. I had a chance to see him live. Now, Jones is listed at 6'2", 224 pounds. Michigan is recruiting him as more of a traditional linebacker. He can play the Mike spot, maybe more suited for the Will spot, but either way, more of a traditional linebacker and not necessarily an edge. However, when I did see Jones live, he did play a lot of defensive end. He put his hand in the dirt as a 5 tech. He also stood up as a 4'5", as a 7, a wide 9. So he played all three of those techniques, and he's a guy that did play some traditional linebacker as well, moved over to outside linebacker, inside to inside linebacker. So he does a lot for his defense, but his primary position at the high school level is defensive end. I do think he projects more as a traditional linebacker, so I agree with Michigan's evaluation. Despite being 6'2", he does have really good length. He is a guy that's very athletic as well. If you watch some of his tape, and I got to see a little bit of it, but not too much in a blowout win. But he does play some running back as well at the high school level. He's a very physical player. He can brush up on his technique. He often can get caught up with some offensive linemen. He doesn't sift through traffic as well as he should, but he is physical. He's very athletic. Like I said, he has good length despite only being 6'2". Very smart kid, very cerebral player as well. So really a lot to like about Kris Jones, and the things that I knocked him for are easily correctable at the next level. I'm really interested to see how he continues to develop from a body standpoint. Right now, he's really filled out, really impressive upper half, very impressive lower half as well. How much more weight can he add? He's already 225 pounds. Can he play at 240? Do you keep him in the same area? I think there's a lot of intrigue with his frame, and I think a guy like Ben Herbert would really maximize it. So you have a plus frame, you have plus athleticism, so a lot to like about Jones in a scheme that really requires its linebackers to run, to get sideline to sideline, to drop back into pass coverage, to blitz. So I do think Jones can do a lot of that. And his film might not pop out at you because he's playing a lot of defensive end, but just pay attention to that frame, that athleticism, and you'll see why Michigan likes Jones so much. And I'm a big fan of his as well. Obviously, like I said, the number 1 overall prospect in the state of Virginia. So he is the top dog out here. And Michigan making him a priority. We'll see where things go. We'll have more coverage on the Kris Jones recruitment and more over on the Wolverine.com for just $29.99 until August 31st of this year. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel, which is completely free.